My wife smirked and said, "I'm going on a date, don't wait up." I replied, "I was hoping you'd say that." Her face went pale. She didn't know I'd found her offshore account, her lover's confession, and evidence that would destroy her in court. By morning, everything changed. My name is Robert Jennings. I'm 44 years old, and until 3 months ago, I thought I had it all figured out. A solid marriage of 18 years. 2 great kids, Connor, 17, and Lily, 14. A thriving business I built from nothing, 5 fitness centers across the metro area that brought in over $2 million a year. I had a partner I trusted, Glenn Pearson, who handled sales and marketing while I managed operations and training programs. We'd grown this empire together over 7 years, from one struggling gym to a legitimate franchise operation. Tiffany, my wife, she'd been there from the beginning. Back when we were scraping by in a rented studio apartment, eating ramen 3 nights a week while I poured every dollar into that first gym. She believed in me when nobody else did. Or at least, that's what I thought. It was a Tuesday evening when everything changed. I remember the exact date because it was the day after our son Connor's basketball game, the one where he scored 23 points and Tiffany never showed up. She'd texted saying Glenn needed her to cover the front desk at our Riverside location because someone called in sick. I was in the kitchen, reheating leftover chicken and rice, when she walked in. The click of her heels on the hardwood floor sounded different somehow. Sharper, more deliberate. She was wearing a dress I'd never seen before, deep burgundy, the kind that cost more than our monthly grocery bill. Her makeup was perfect, too perfect for a Tuesday night at home. I looked up from the microwave, and our eyes met. There was something in her expression I couldn't quite place. Not guilt, not nervousness. Something closer to anticipation. "I'm going on a date tonight," Tiffany said, her voice steady and clear. "Don't wait up for me." The words hung in the air like smoke after a gunshot. I stood there, one hand still on the microwave door, the other holding a fork that suddenly felt like it weighed 50 pounds. My mind scrambled to process what I just heard. A date. My wife of 18 years just announced she was going on a date. She was watching me, waiting. I could see in her eyes. She wanted a reaction. She wanted me to yell, to beg, to break down and give her the drama she was clearly expecting. But something inside me went cold instead. Ice cold. Because in that moment, the dozen little pieces suddenly clicked together. The credit card statement I'd found last month with charges to hotels I'd never been to. The way Glenn had been avoiding eye contact with me at our last partners meeting. The fact that Tiffany's mother, Lorraine, had been unusually cold to me at Lily's birthday party. I set down the fork, closed the microwave door, and looked at my wife. Really looked at her. And I saw a stranger wearing Tiffany's face. "Actually," I said, my voice calm and measured, "I was hoping you'd say that." Her face changed instantly. The smug confidence drained away like water through a broken dam. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. She blinked twice, fast, like she was trying to recalibrate. "What?" Tiffany's voice came out smaller than before. "You heard me." I leaned back against the counter, crossing my arms. "I've been waiting for you to finally be honest about what you've been doing. So go ahead. Have your date. I'll be here when you get back. We'll have a lot to discuss." She recovered quickly. I'll give her that. The mask slipped back into place. "You're being dramatic, Robert. It's just dinner with some friends from a gym. Friends don't usually require a $200 dress and hotel-grade makeup," I replied. "But sure, let's call it that. What time should I expect you home? Or should I not bother waiting up, like you said?" Tiffany grabbed her purse from the counter, her movements sharp and defensive. "I don't know what's gotten into you, but this attitude isn't attractive. Neither is lying to your husband's face," I said. "But here we are." She stared at me for a long moment, and I could see the gears turning behind her eyes. She was trying to figure out how much I knew, how much I discovered. The truth was, up until 30 seconds ago, I'd only had suspicions, pieces that didn't quite fit. But her reaction to my calm acceptance had just confirmed everything. "I'll be back late," she finally said, turning toward the door. "Take your time," I called after her. "I've got some calls to make anyway." The door closed behind her with a soft click. I stood there in the kitchen, surrounded by the smell of reheated chicken and the wreckage of my marriage, and I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Clarity. Pure, sharp, undeniable clarity. I pulled out my phone and opened my banking app. Time to see exactly what my wife had been spending our money on. The banking app loaded slowly, each second stretching like taffy. When the transactions finally appeared, I felt my jaw tighten. 3 months of statements told a story I'd been too busy to read. Hotel charges at the Riverside Inn, always on Thursdays. Dinner reservations at Marcello's, the Italian place where we'd celebrated our 10th anniversary. Gift purchases from jewelry stores I'd never stepped foot in. And the kicker, cash withdrawals totaling $8,000 spread across 12 weeks. I sat down at the kitchen table and opened my laptop. If Tiffany wanted to play games, she'd picked the wrong opponent. I'd spent 7 years building a business from scratch. That required attention to detail, documentation, and the ability to spot when numbers didn't add up. First stop, our joint credit card account. I downloaded every statement from the past 6 months and created a spreadsheet. Red flags jumped out immediately. Charges to lingerie boutiques on days she'd claimed to be visiting her mother. Restaurant bills for 2 at places she'd never mentioned. A charge for a weekend at a bed and breakfast in Vermont that coincided with her supposed girls' trip to Boston. My phone buzzed. Connor, texting from upstairs. Dad, where's Mom? She said she'd help me with my college essay tonight. I typed back. She had to go out. I'll help you. Give me 20 minutes. 20 minutes. That's all I had before I needed to be dad again, setting aside the fact that my marriage was imploding. I worked faster. Next, I logged into our business account, the one Glenn and I shared for the fitness centers. My stomach dropped. Unauthorized transfers. Small amounts at first, 500 here, 800 there, always labeled as equipment maintenance or marketing expenses. But they'd gotten bolder. 2 weeks ago, a $5,000 transfer marked as gym equipment that never appeared in any of our locations. I pulled up the recipient account number and ran it through our banking system's verification tool. The account belonged to Tiffany. She'd been siphoning money from our business, money that belonged half to Glenn and half to me, and funneling it into a private account I knew nothing about. My hands shook as I took screenshots of everything. This wasn't just an affair. This was theft. Systematic, calculated theft from our family and our business. I opened a new browser tab and searched for the name of the attorney who'd helped us set up our LLC 7 years ago. Richard Frost, a sharp guy in his 50s who didn't mess around. I drafted an email, attaching the screenshots, and explained the situation in clinical terms. No emotion, just facts. Meeting requested for first thing tomorrow morning. My phone rang. Glenn's name flashed on the screen. I stared at it for 3 rings before answering. Yeah. Hey, Rob. Glenn's voice sounded strained, artificial. Just checking in. How's everything? Interesting timing for a check-in, I said. It's 9:30 on a Tuesday night. A pause. Right. Well, I just want to make sure we're still good for the equipment delivery tomorrow at the downtown location. We don't have an equipment delivery scheduled tomorrow, Glenn. Silence stretched between us like a chasm. Where's Tiffany right now? I asked, my voice flat. He hung up. I sat there staring at my phone, and something inside me shifted. This wasn't just my wife betraying me. This was my business partner, the man I trusted with half my livelihood, stabbing me in the back. Upstairs, Connor called out, Dad, you coming? On my way up, I shouted back, saving all my documents to a secure cloud drive. The college essay could wait. First, I had a son to reassure that everything was fine, even though we both knew it wasn't. Connor's college essay was about perseverance, about how watching me build the fitness business from nothing taught him that success requires sacrifice. I helped him tighten his thesis paragraph while my phone buzzed every few minutes with notifications I ignored. By 10:30, he was satisfied with his draft and headed to bed. Lily had been asleep since 9, her door closed with a do not disturb sign she'd made in our class. I went back downstairs and made myself coffee. Strong, black, the kind that keeps you sharp. I had work to do. The security system I'd installed at our gyms 6 months ago wasn't just for theft prevention. It was high definition, cloud connected, and covered every angle. I pulled up the footage from our Riverside location, the one where Tiffany claimed she'd been covering the front desk last night. I scrolled through the timeline. She never showed up. The front desk was manned by Sarah, our regular night shift employee, from 6 p.m. until close at 10. No sign of Tiffany anywhere in the building. I checked the other 4 locations. Same story. My wife hadn't set foot in any of our gyms yesterday. I downloaded the footage and added it to my growing evidence file. Next, I opened the shared calendar Tiffany and I used for family scheduling. She'd been meticulous about updating it, probably to maintain the illusion of transparency. I cross-referenced her entries against the credit card statements. Every book club meeting matched a hotel charge. Every dinner with Mom aligned with restaurant bills for 2 at romantic spots across town. She'd been building an alibi in plain sight, counting on me being too busy to verify. My phone rang. Tiffany's name flashed on the screen. I let it ring 4 times before answering. Yeah. My voice was neutral, flat. Robert, we need to talk. She sounded upset. Her words clipped. I'm coming home. Take your time. I'm not going anywhere. No, you don't understand. I need to explain something to you. This whole thing, it's not what you think. I almost laughed. Really? So you didn't just announce you were going on a date? You didn't walk out of here dressed like you were meeting someone important? Help me understand what I'm supposed to think. I was testing you. Her voice had shifted to something softer, more vulnerable. The tone she used when she wanted me to feel sorry for her. I wanted to see if you'd fight for us. If you'd show me you still care. By lying about where you've been for the past 3 months? By stealing money from our business account? That's one hell of a test, Tiffany. Silence. Then, what are you talking about? I'm talking about the $8,000 in cash withdrawals. The transfers to your private account. The hotel charges, the restaurant bills, the jewelry you bought for someone who isn't me. I kept my voice level clinical. I'm talking about the fact that you haven't been to any of our gyms in 2 weeks despite claiming you were covering shifts. Wanting to keep going. I heard her breath catch. You've been spying on me? I've been paying attention. There's a difference. I stood up and walked to the window, looking out at our quiet suburban street. Now you can come home and we can have this conversation face to face. Or you can stay wherever you are with whoever you're with. Your choice. But if you come home, you'd better be ready to tell the truth, because I already know most of it. She hung up. 20 minutes later, headlights swept across the driveway. Tiffany's car. I heard her key in the lock, the door opening slowly. She appeared in the kitchen doorway, her makeup smudged, her confident posture from earlier completely gone. Where's Glenn? I asked before she could speak. Her face went pale. How did you? Just answer the question. He dropped me off at the corner, Tiffany whispered. Robert, please. Let me explain. I gestured to the chair across from me. Sit down. Start talking. And if I catch you in one more lie, this conversation is over and my next call is to a divorce attorney. Tiffany sat down like she was approaching a bomb. Her hand shook as she placed her purse on the table. For a moment, she just stared at her lap, and I wondered if she was calculating her next move or actually feeling something close to remorse. It started 6 months ago, she finally said, her voice barely above a whisper. Glenn and I were doing inventory at the downtown location. We were talking, and he listened to me in a way you haven't in years. He made me feel seen. So you decided to have an affair with my business partner and steal from our company. I kept my tone flat, refusing to give her the emotional reaction she was fishing for. Skip the romance novel recap and tell me the truth. How much money have you taken? She flinched. About $12,000. But I was going to pay it back. With what money? The cash you've been withdrawing from our joint account. The transfers from our business that Glenn authorized. I leaned forward. I've got bank statements, security footage, credit card receipts. I know about the hotels, the restaurants, the jewelry. What I want to know is what else you've been hiding. Tiffany's eyes filled with tears, but I wasn't buying it anymore. There's nothing else. I swear. I pulled out my phone and opened a photo I'd found earlier. It showed her laughing in a restaurant booth, Glenn's arm around her shoulders. The timestamp was from 3 weeks ago, the same night she'd told me she was at a PDA meeting. Try again, I said, sliding the phone across the table. She looked at the image, and her face turned gray. Where did you get that? Social media is a beautiful thing. Someone tagged Glenn in a post from Marcello's. You're right there in the background. I took the phone back. Now, I'm going to ask you one more time. What else have you been hiding? Tiffany was silent for a long moment. Then she said something that made my blood run cold. Glenn and I were planning to buy you out of the business. We've been meeting with investors. We were going to offer you a lowball price and force you out. I sat back in my chair, processing this. It wasn't just an affair. It was a hostile takeover of the business I'd built from nothing. Does Glenn know I'm aware of any of this? I don't think so. When I called him after you said that thing about hoping I'd tell the truth, he panicked. Told me to come home and deny everything. Said he'd handle damage control tomorrow. What time is he planning to be at the office? 7. He's always there early on Wednesdays. I looked at the clock. It was 11:15. I had less than 8 hours to get my legal ducks in a row before Glenn tried to spin this situation. Here's what's going to happen, I said, standing up. You're going to sleep in the guest room tonight. Tomorrow morning, you're going to call your mother and tell her you're staying there for a while. You're not taking the kids anywhere, you're not touching our accounts, and you're not contacting Glenn. Understood. Robert, please. I'm not done. My voice hardened. You're also going to write down every detail of what you and Glenn have been planning. Every meeting with investors, every conversation about buying me out, every dollar you've moved. And you're going to sign it. Why would I do that? Her voice cracked. Because if you don't, I'm filing for divorce tomorrow and going to the police about the theft. But if you cooperate, if you tell me everything, I might be willing to work something out that doesn't destroy you completely. It was a bluff, partially. I was filing for divorce either way. But I needed her confession documented before Glenn had a chance to lawyer up and destroy evidence. Tiffany nodded slowly, tears streaming down her face. Okay, I'll do it. Good. Start writing. Tiffany spent 2 hours writing her confession while I sat across from her, reading through business contracts and partnership agreements. By 1:30 in the morning, she'd filled 6 pages with details about the affair, the financial theft, and the plan to force me out of my own company. She signed each page with a shaking hand. Can I go to bed now? She asked, her voice hoarse from crying. Guest room. And leave your phone on the kitchen counter. She started to protest, then thought better of it. I heard her climb the stairs, heard the guest room door close. I photographed every page of her confession, uploaded them to my secure cloud storage, and locked the originals in my home safe. Then I called Richard Frost, my attorney, and left a detailed voicemail about needing an emergency meeting at 6 a.m. I managed 3 hours of sleep on the couch before my alarm went off. Connor and Lily were still asleep when I showered and dressed. I left a note on the kitchen counter saying I had an early meeting and would be back before they left for school. Richard's office was in a downtown high-rise, 23rd floor. He was already there when I arrived, coffee brewing, looking sharp despite the ungodly hour. Robert Jennings, he said, shaking my hand. Your voicemail was concerning. Sit down and tell me everything. I spent 40 minutes laying out the situation. The affair, the theft, the attempted business takeover. I showed him the bank statements, the security footage, Tiffany's signed confession. Richard took notes, his expression growing darker with each revelation. This is bad, he finally said, but it's also airtight. Your wife and your business partner have exposed themselves to both civil and criminal liability. The question is, what do you want to do about it? I want full custody of my kids. I want Tiffany out of the house. I want Glenn removed from the business. And I want to recover every dollar they stole. I leaned forward. Can you make that happen? The custody and divorce, absolutely. Your wife's confession and the evidence of financial fraud give you enormous leverage. Richard tapped his pen on his notepad. The business side is trickier. Glenn owns 40%. Even with the morality clause, he could fight the removal in court. What if I bought him out? With what capital? You said they've drained nearly $20,000 from the business accounts. I pulled out another folder. 3 weeks ago, I secured a line of credit against my father's house. The one he left me in his will, the one Tiffany has no legal claim to. It's worth $620,000, and I can access $300,000 immediately. Richard raised an eyebrow. You saw this coming. I saw something coming. I just didn't know how bad it would be. I slid the paperwork across his desk. I want to offer Glenn a buyout. 75 cents on the dollar for his share, payment in full within 30 days. If he refuses, we invoke the morality clause and force him out for nothing. That's aggressive. He tried to steal my business and sleep with my wife. Aggressive is me being generous. I stood up. Can you draft the papers today? I'll have them ready by this afternoon. Richard stood and shook my hand again. And Robert, your wife's mother, Lorraine. Your voicemail mentioned she might be involved in covering for the affair. Be prepared for her to fight dirty during the custody battle. I'm counting on it, I said. I've got plans for Lorraine, too. I left Richard's office at 7:15 and drove straight to our downtown gym location. Glenn's truck was already in the parking lot. I walked in through the front entrance, nodded to the morning staff, and headed to the office we shared. Glenn was at his desk, staring at his computer screen. He looked up when I entered, and I saw the calculation in his eyes. He was trying to figure out how much I knew. "Morning, Rob," he said carefully. "Early start today. Had some business to take care of." I closed the office door behind me. "We need to talk about your resignation." Glenn's face went through several expressions before settling on confused innocence. "My what? Rob, what are you talking about?" I pulled out my phone and played the audio recording I'd made of Tiffany's confession. Her voice filled the small office, detailing the affair, the stolen money, the plan to force me out and take over the business with Glenn. His face drained of color as the recording played. When it finished, I pocketed my phone and sat down across from him. "Here's the situation," I said, my voice calm and level. "You violated our partnership agreement in multiple ways. Theft, fraud, and a conspiracy to defraud me of my ownership stake. I have documentation of every hotel charge, every unauthorized transfer, every dinner you billed to the company while you were screwing my wife." Glenn opened his mouth, but nothing came out. "Now, I'm going to make you an offer, and you're going to accept it because the alternative is much worse." I pulled a folder from my bag and slid it across the desk. "This is a buyout agreement. I'm offering you 75 cents on the dollar for your 40% stake in our business. Based on our last valuation, that's $450,000. Cash, paid in full within 30 days. He stared at the papers like they might bite him. "That's below market value. That's more than you deserve. The morality clause in our operating agreement gives me the right to force you out with zero compensation for conduct like this. I'm offering you a chance to walk away with something." I leaned back in my chair. "You've got until 5 p.m. today to decide. Accept the buyout, sign a non-compete agreement, and disappear. Or reject it, and I'll invoke the morality clause, report the theft to the police, and make sure everyone in this industry knows exactly what you did." "Rob, please. We've been partners for 7 years. We built this together, and you try to steal it from me while sleeping with my wife." I stood up. "I don't negotiate with people who betray me, Glenn. I remove them. The only question is whether you leave with something or with nothing." He looked down at the buyout papers, his hands shaking slightly. "What about Tiffany? Are you divorcing her?" "That's none of your concern anymore." I walked to the door. 5 p.m., Glenn. I'll be in my attorney's office. You could deliver your decision there, or you can have your lawyer contact mine. Either way, you're done here." I left him sitting at his desk and drove home. Connor and Lily were eating breakfast when I walked in. Tiffany was nowhere in sight. "Where's Mom?" Lily asked, looking up from her cereal. "She's not feeling well. She's staying at Grandma Lorraine's for a few days." I poured myself coffee and sat down with them. "How'd you sleep?" Connor glanced at me with knowing eyes. At 17, he was old enough to sense when something was wrong. "Fine. You okay, Dad?" "I'm good, son. Just dealing with some business issues." I smiled at both of them. "Listen, things might be a little different around here for a while. Your mom and I are working through some stuff, but I need you both to know that none of this is your fault, and we both love you very much." Lily's eyes widened. "Are you getting divorced?" I took a breath. "We're figuring things out. But whatever happens, you two are my priority. Always." Connor nodded slowly, but I could see the questions in his eyes. Questions I'd have to answer eventually, but not now. Not while they had school and tests and normal teenage problems to worry about. My phone buzzed. A text from Richard Frost. "Lorraine Mitchell just called my office threatening legal action if you try to keep her daughter from the children. Thought you should know." I texted back. "Let her come. I've got evidence that'll bury her credibility." The war was just beginning. Glenn showed up at Richard Frost's office at 4:45, 15 minutes before the deadline. He looked like he hadn't slept, his shirt wrinkled, his eyes bloodshot. His attorney, a sharp woman in her 40s named Patricia Hall, sat beside him with a briefcase full of documents. Richard and I were waiting in the conference room. Glenn couldn't meet my eyes as he sat down across from us. "My client is prepared to accept the buyout offer," Patricia said, sliding a signed agreement across the table. $450,000 for his 40% stake, paid in full within 30 days. In exchange, he'll sign a non-compete agreement and resign from all positions within the company. I reviewed the signature, then looked at Glenn. "You understand this means you're out completely? No consulting role, no advisory position, nothing." He nodded, his voice barely a whisper. "Understand." And you acknowledge that this buyout price reflects the damages caused by your theft and breach of fiduciary duty? Yes. Glenn finally looked up at me. Rob, I know you probably don't want to hear this, but I'm sorry. I got caught up in something I shouldn't have, and I betrayed your trust. I'll regret it for the rest of my life. Save it. I signed the agreement and slid it back to Richard. Your apology doesn't change what you did. It doesn't give me back the 7 years I wasted thinking you were someone I could trust. Patricia cleared her throat. There's one more matter. The stolen funds. My client is prepared to return $12,000 to the business account within 72 hours. Make it 48, I said. And I want a written admission that he authorized those transfers without my knowledge or consent. Glenn looked at his attorney, who nodded. He signed another document acknowledging the theft. We're done here, Richard said, gathering the paperwork. Mr. Pearson, you have until Friday at noon to remove your personal belongings from the gym offices. After that, your access will be permanently revoked. Glenn stood up, his shoulders slumped. As he walked toward the door, he paused and turned back to me. What about Tiffany? Are you going to press charges against her too? That's between me and my wife. You don't get to worry about her anymore. I leaned back in my chair. And Glenn? If I find out you've contacted her, if I hear you've tried to interfere in my divorce proceedings in any way, I'll make sure the theft charges get filed. Are we clear? He nodded and left without another word. Richard closed his briefcase. Well handled. You got everything you wanted. Not everything, I said. I still have to deal with Lorraine. As if on cue, my phone rang. Tiffany's mother. I let it go to voicemail, but she called 3 more times in rapid succession. Finally, I answered. Lorraine. Robert Jennings. You listen to me. Her voice was shrill with rage. I know what you're trying to do to my daughter. You're trying to take those children away from their mother, and I won't allow it. Those children have a mother who committed adultery and stole from her family. The court will decide what's best for them, not you. I have connections, Robert. Lawyers, judges, people who owe me favors. You think you can just destroy my daughter's life and walk away? I think your daughter destroyed her own life when she decided to betray her family. I kept my voice calm, measured. And as for your connections, Lorraine, I've got something better. I've got the truth, documented and signed. So bring your lawyers, bring your judges, bring whoever you want. I'm ready. She hung up on me. Richard raised an eyebrow. That's going to be a problem. Let it be a problem, I said. I'm done being afraid of that woman. I drove home to find Connor waiting for me in the driveway. He was sitting on the front steps, his basketball in his lap. Dad, we need to talk. I sat down beside Connor on the steps. The evening air was cool, the neighborhood quiet except for someone mowing their lawn 3 houses down. I know Mom's not just sick, Connor said, bouncing the basketball once. I heard you on the phone last night. I heard her crying in the guest room. I'd known this conversation was coming, but it didn't make it any easier. You're right. Your mom and I are having serious problems. Is she cheating on you? The directness of the question caught me off guard. I looked at my son, really looked at him. He was 17, nearly a man, with my height and his mother's eyes. He deserved the truth. Yes, I said simply. She is. Connor was quiet for a moment, the basketball still in his hands. With Mr. Pearson? How did you know? I saw them together once. About 2 months ago at the Riverside gym. I came in to grab my water bottle I'd left there, and they were in the office. The door was closed, but I could see through the window. They were kissing. He looked down at the ground. I didn't know what to do. Part of me wanted to tell you, but part of me thought maybe I was wrong. Maybe it was a mistake. The weight of what my son had been carrying hit me like a truck. Connor, this is not your fault. None of this is your responsibility. I should have told you, and I should have paid better attention to what was happening in my own marriage. I put my hand on his shoulder. But we can't change the past. We can only move forward. What happens now? Are you getting divorced? Yes. I've already filed the papers. Your mom will be served tonight or tomorrow. What about Lily? Does she know? Not yet. I want to talk to you first. You're older, and I need your help making sure your sister gets through this okay. Connor nodded slowly. Where's Mom staying? With your grandmother Lorraine for now. But I want you both to know that you can see her whenever you want. I'm not trying to keep you away from your mother. I'm just trying to protect our family from more damage. I don't want to see her right now, Connor said, his voice hard. She lied to all of us. She hurt you. She hurt Lily. She hurt her family. I'm not ready to forgive that. That's your choice. and I respect it. But Connor, she's still your mother. Someday, when you're ready, you might want that relationship back. Don't close that door completely. He bounced the basketball again, harder this time. Did Mr. Pearson have a family? A wife? Heather. No kids, though. Good. At least no other kids have to go through this. He stood up and looked at me. I'm going to tell Lily. She should hear from me, not from some kid at school or Grandma Lorraine. You sure you want to do that? Yeah. We're a team, Dad. You, me, and Lily. That's our family now. The simplicity and strength of his words nearly broke me. I stood and pulled my son into a hug. I'm proud of you. You know that, right? I know. He pulled back and picked up his basketball. I'm going to go talk to her now, before I lose my nerve. I watched him walk into the house, and I felt something shift inside me. My marriage was over, my business partnership destroyed, my trust shattered. But I still have my kids, and they were worth fighting for. My phone buzzed. A text from Richard. Tiffany has been served. She's requesting mediation. What do you want to do? I typed back. No mediation. We proceed with litigation. She had her chance to be honest. Inside the house, I heard Lily start crying. I heard Connor's low voice, steady and calm, comforting his sister. I wanted to go to them, but I knew this was something they needed to process together first. So I sat back down on the steps and waited, watching the sun set over our neighborhood, and prepared myself for the battle still to come. The courtroom was sterile and cold, all polished wood and fluorescent lighting. Tiffany sat with her attorney on one side, Lorraine beside her looking like she wanted to set me on fire with her eyes. I sat with Richard on the other side, Connor and Lily in the hallway with a court advocate. Judge Patricia Reynolds was in her 60s, gray-haired and sharp-eyed. She'd been reviewing our case files for the past week, and today would determine temporary custody arrangements. Tiffany's attorney, a slick guy named Martin Cross, stood up first. Your Honor, my client has been a devoted mother for 18 years. She's been the primary caregiver, attending every school event, every doctor's appointment, every parent-teacher conference. Mr. Jennings has been so focused on his business that he's essentially been an absentee father. I felt my jaw clench, but Richard put a hand on my arm. Wait, Mrs. Jennings made one mistake, Martin continued. She had a brief affair during a difficult period in her marriage. But that doesn't make her a bad mother. She's asking for joint custody with primary placement, which would allow the children stability and continuity. Judge Reynolds looked at Richard. Counselor. Richard stood, calm and collected. Your Honor, Mrs. Jennings didn't just have an affair. She engaged in systematic financial theft from the family business, stealing over $12,000. She lied repeatedly to her husband and children about her whereabouts. And most damaging, she conspired with Mr. Jennings' business partner to force him out of the company he built. He pulled out a document. We have Mrs. Jennings' signed confession detailing all of this. We also have testimony from both children, who are 17 and 14, stating they feel more secure with their father. Martin objected. The children have been influenced by their father's narrative. The children, Richard said calmly, have eyes and ears. They saw their mother's behavior. They heard her lies. Connor Jennings witnessed his mother kissing Glenn Pearson at one of the family's gym locations 2 months before the affair was revealed. He carried that burden alone because he didn't want to believe what he saw. Judge Reynolds frowned. Is the son available to testify? He is, Your Honor. Connor was called in. He looked nervous but determined as he took the stand. The judge asked him directly, Connor, who do you feel safer living with right now? My dad, Connor said without hesitation. My mom lied to us for months. She stole from our family. She hurt my dad and my sister. I love her, but I don't trust her anymore. And what about your sister, Lily? Lily feels the same way. She's just too scared to say it in front of Mom and Grandma Lorraine. Lorraine stood up. That's not true. These children are being manipulated. Judge Reynolds banged her gavel. Ma'am, sit down, or you'll be removed from this courtroom. Lorraine sat, but her glare could have melted steel. The judge called Lillian next. My daughter looked small and frightened, but when asked the same question, she gave the same answer. I want to live with Dad. Tiffany was crying now, her makeup running down her face. Martin tried to object, to claim the children were being coached, but Judge Reynolds had heard enough. Based on the evidence presented and the clear preference of both children, I'm granting Mr. Jennings temporary primary custody. Mrs. Jennings will have supervised visitation every other weekend, pending a full custody evaluation. She looked at Tiffany. Mrs. Jennings, if you want more time with your children, I suggest you start rebuilding their trust through honesty and accountability, not through your attorney's arguments. The gavel came down, and it was over. Tiffany collapsed into sobs. Lorraine put her arms around her daughter, shooting me a look of pure hatred. But I didn't care about Lorraine's opinion anymore. I had my kids, and that was all that mattered. Outside the courtroom, Connor and Lily ran to me. I hugged them both, feeling the weight of the past months finally starting to lift. It's over, I told them. We're going home. 8 months later, life had found a new rhythm. The divorce was finalized in June, with Tiffany receiving a minimal settlement after her theft and affair were factored into the division of assets. She'd moved into a small apartment across town and was working as a receptionist at a medical office. Her relationship with the kids was slowly improving, though neither Connor nor Lily had forgiven her completely. Glenn had taken his buyout money and moved to Arizona, starting fresh with a different career. I'd heard through mutual acquaintances that he and Tiffany had tried to make a go of their relationship after everything fell apart, but it lasted less than 2 months before they realized they'd built their connection on lies and betrayal. The fitness business was thriving. Without Glenn's mismanagement and theft, profits had increased by 30%. I promoted Sarah, our longtime front desk manager, to operations director, and she'd proven herself invaluable. We'd opened a 6th location in August, and memberships were at an all-time high. Connor had started his freshman year at State University on a partial basketball scholarship. He called me every Sunday, and we'd talk about his classes, his games, his new girlfriend who was majoring in engineering. He was happy, confident, building his own life. Lily was doing better too. The trauma of the divorce had been hard on her, but therapy had helped. She joined a debate team at school and discovered she had a talent for public speaking. Her grades had improved, and she'd stopped having nightmares about the family falling apart. As for me, I'd started dating again. Nothing serious yet, just coffee here and there with women I met through friends or at community events. I wasn't in a rush to jump into another relationship. I was learning to be comfortable on my own, to trust my judgment again, to recognize red flags before they became catastrophes. One Saturday afternoon in October, I was at Lily's debate tournament when I ran into someone I hadn't seen in years. Michelle Harper, a woman I'd known from the Business Owners Association. She was a physical therapist who ran her own practice, divorced for 3 years, with 2 kids of her own. Robert Jennings, she said with a warm smile. I heard about what happened. I'm sorry you went through that. Thank you. It was rough, but we're doing okay now. We talked for 20 minutes, and I found myself genuinely enjoying the conversation. She was direct, honest, with a sense of humor that made me laugh for the first time in months. When she suggested we grab coffee sometime, I said yes without hesitation. That coffee turned into dinner. Dinner turned into a second date, then a third. By December, Michelle and I were officially together, taking things slow but steady. The kids liked her, which mattered more to me than anything else. She understood what I'd been through because she'd survived her own betrayal and come out stronger. On Christmas Eve, Connor and Lily were with me at the house. We just finished decorating the tree when Connor asked, "Dad, are you happy?" I looked at my son, nearly a man now, and then at Lily, sprawling on the couch with hot chocolate. I thought about the business I'd saved, the trust I'd rebuilt with my kids, the new relationship that felt healthy and real. Yeah, I said honestly, I am. It took a while, but I'm happy. Connor smiled. Good. You deserve it. Later that night, after the kids had gone to bed, I stood in the kitchen where this whole nightmare had started. The place where Tiffany had announced her date, where she'd expected me to fall apart. Instead, I'd stood firm, fought back, and rebuilt my life from the ashes of her betrayal. I'd learned that strength isn't about never falling. It's about getting back up, dusting yourself off, and building something better than what you lost. And I'd done exactly that.